So here's John Guy's CV, not his real name. I interviewed him today. And this is his CV, which I've just put into OneNote. And what we're going to go through now is just have a bit of a look at how we can make this CV a bit better. I'm just going to write notes on the screen for him so he gets a feel for how he can do it a bit better. So I suppose the first thing that jumps out to me is that it's centre justified, and it's not very easy to read because of that. So the first thing I'd suggest is doing something left justified. So moving this over there, obviously the same for all this section. Career objective as well, we need to left justify that. In terms of what I'd immediately get rid of probably is things that are not going to be useful to the roles that he's going for. So he's going for IT roles. So generally, unless they're FIFO, a blue card, white card isn't going to be important. Responsible service of alcohol isn't going to be important. And the reason for taking them off is simply that they don't increase relevance, they decrease relevance to most roles. So unless there's a good reason to have them on there, I'd be getting rid of them. Next is I would reduce the amount of bullet points we've got here for technologies that are not related to the roles that he's going for. So all those ones I would maybe put together in one bullet point, and I would increase the number of bullet points that talk about, for example, desktop support. And as you're going for technical roles in the infrastructure space, I would add anything that's going to help in that regard. So Windows 7 to 10, support, etc. And I would increase those kind of bullet points. I would put on there, because I know he's got a little bit of Active Directory experience as well, I'd put that there as well, because Active Directory is obviously critical for any type of support role that you may be doing from a help desk point of view. This work experience stuff here, I would actually move this down to below his employment section, okay? Because the most important thing for him is to emphasize the employment history that he has and the work experience, of which actually also that is part, is something that's useful in telling his story, but not as the very first thing. So then the employment history. These bullet points are good. Obviously, we're going to left justify this as well. Any other bullet points that he can add to that, I would suggest, so he fills that out a little bit more, because that's his most recent role and therefore highly relevant. And same with preemptive strike here. Putting Active Directory and any other specific bullet points he can under preemptive strike would be really good. The other thing is I would get very specific with those bullet points. So rather than just having phone support, troubleshooting, or monitoring network infrastructures, I would get very specific with the technologies that were used to do that monitoring. I know back up here he had Shadow Protect backups. So Shadow Protect is a huge technology used in small business now, so I would put Shadow Protect there, and I would also put exactly what he has done with Shadow Protect. So if you've done a bare metal restore, put that. If you've done if you've just monitored backups, put monitored backups for multiple clients. Be very specific in all these bullet points as to exactly what you've done, because specificity is gold, even though it's really hard to say. And I would, for me, this is a personal thing, I would get rid of non-IT related work experience, particularly if they're fairly short-term roles, and particularly when there's already some good IT experience there. Okay, I wouldn't mind keeping the guitar tutoring, because that kind of shows that you can teach, and it's also a current role at the moment because it's something that he still does. So community involvement, that stuff's good too. Obviously this all comes to the side now. A little bit of the interest stuff is fine as well. But the big thing I think that's missing here is a section, and it can be beneath the employment section, but it's a section called self-education. Now this is really important because under self-education, the sorts of things you put here is all the stuff you've learnt that you know you can do and that you have the skills for, even though you haven't learnt them in a commercial context. So if, for example, you can put things like online courses, and then what you've learnt in those online courses. So it might they can be mentioned there. If you've done server builds, they can be mentioned there. If you've done sort of work for family and friends, fixing computers and things like that, get very specific about what you've done. Don't just say general work for family and friends. And concentrate on the skills that you've picked up because of that. Again, get very specific. So mention the if it's, say, router installation, mention what brand. It might be, say, Draytech, for example, and mention what it was done. You might have created a I don't know, a site-to-site VPN between two houses or something, or you know, you and your mate's place, and it might be in order to set up a gaming server or something like that. But get very specific about what you've done, so that you're giving yourself the opportunity to show that you've got skills, even when you might not have the actual commercial experience to back it up. Referees is fine. Having them on your CV is fine as well. You don't have to, but so long as they're okay with that, you can have it there. Whether or not you include the mobile numbers or not will depend on privacy and whether they're getting lots of calls and whether they're happy to have their mobile numbers included on that. So that's a case-by-case sort of basis. Again, I wouldn't get too hung up on the skills section. For me, what's more important is that all those skills also are shown under each relevant piece of work experience. And again, that you get very specific. And so you even get specific about the sorts of viruses you've removed. Even get specific about the types of hardware and software that you've supported, and for particularly difficult troubleshooting stuff that you've done, get very specific on some of those difficult problems, because again, how specific you get will show how technical you are and what skills you've really got, and that's going to set you aside from other engineers, particularly when John here is going for a grad level position, because he's had a little bit of IT experience and he's done the TAFE courses for Cert 3 and Cert 4 and a diploma. So he's really looking for that first main permanent role that will help him get that. And the other thing that he should do probably in here is describe his situation. And for John, this means that he's moved from Albany to Perth to progress his IT career, as there simply isn't the job prospects for him in Albany. And I'd make that pretty clear, because it explains why he's not employed other than casual work at the moment. So there you go. I hope that's helpful, and yeah, if this was helpful, let me know and I'll do more of them. Thank you.